Hello, and welcome back to Unscripted with me, Frank Dollar. Conversations about career, life, and everything in between. So, this weekend, I went on a camping trip with some friends, and part of that camping trip, we did a bit of fishing. And what I noticed when we went fishing was the expectation, because we could see the fish, it was fly fishing, was that it would be really easy to just like cast your lure in and you'll catch a fish straight away. Lo and behold, we stood there, and if any of you have ever tried fly fishing, it's quite like you use your arm a lot, and it takes a lot of effort to really get that cast right and get your lure in the water. Um, so we spent about 6 hours trying and trying to catch these fish when you can literally see that the fish is there, but it just won't bite. And of course, this was so frustrating. But what we did is we kept trying. You kept like walking around, moving different spots, trying different lures, and eventually, finally, we caught a fish. And well, I personally caught a fish, and a few of the others caught fish too. And the level of excitement, there's a video of me catching this fish, and I'm just so excited about it, not because it's the first fish I've ever caught, but because we persisted, and eventually that feeling of finally catching something you've been trying so hard to get was in my hands. And I then proceeded to let it go, and it swam off safely and all fine. So all was happy. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because it got me thinking a lot about grit and awe. So, grit being the passion and perseverance to keep at something, even if it is hard. And then awe is that feeling of coming across the overwhelming appreciation for the something that we've seen or something around us. So, that feeling of just almost an awakening. And those are two things I feel like we've lost quite a lot of. So within our society today, we tend to just take things for granted. And I speak a lot for myself when I'm talking about this. And maybe it's something that resonates with you as well. But I've thought a lot about it, and especially while we were camping, we had to go and collect wood, we had to start the fire, we had to make sure we had all the equipment that we needed to survive and eat and put up tents and things. So this feeling of having to try really hard to get something that you desire made me think a lot about today and what we're doing in life and work. I guess it can be the same across work when you've slogged really hard. I worked on a project recently for the last 6 months, and it was super time consuming, lots of emails and calls and things to ensure that not only was the process happening as we needed it to, but also that it would be better for the future and a few years in advance. Now, when we go about our lives, often we take the easy road as it's already paved for us and we don't need to dig through it. Um, that's why there's a lot of like resilience training and that sort of thing about. But what does that training actually teach you if you're not actually trying and putting that into action? So if you're trying to learn a new language, or if you are trying to learn a new skill and you feel as though you're not learning it. So let's say you try Duolingo, but you get to a 250-day streak. You are so proud of yourself. But then when you try have a conversation with someone that speaks the language that you're learning, suddenly you realize you haven't actually put any of that into practice. So when I think about the story I was telling at the beginning about fishing and just the perseverance that you can see what you want to get to. So you can see your goal. If you want to learn a language, you know your goal is to be fluent in that language, not to just be able to get that 250-day streak and tell your mates that, oh, I got to 250 days on Duolingo. But when they say, okay, can you have a conversation in that language? And you say, well, no, but eventually I want to. So it's thinking about your goals and how you want to get there. And I also was thinking about this in the context of, what are your goals for your wealth in the future? I'm not an investment person, I'm not an advisor or any of that sort of side of things. But it got me thinking, like, when I'm working now and I'm saving money, or if I'm investing money, what point do I get to that I realize that, okay, I've reached where I want to get to, and that journey to get there is just putting money into a savings account, enough work to get there. So it's about, even that takes grit, about planning for your future. And all too often we just expect things to come to us so easily. We want some food, just order it on an app and it arrives at your door. If you want to get somewhere, you just order an Uber and you're at that place you want to get to, so quickly, instead of testing different routes to get there, or actually walking outside, buying some groceries and making that food and enjoying that process of persevering and making something that's great. It might not turn out great the first time. And often that's where people's grit hits the ceiling, is that we don't persevere past that first time, past that first failure. As soon as there's a bit of resistance to what we're trying to do, we then decide, okay, this is not for me and I'm gonna try something else. When I was in school, I tried to learn guitar because I thought this would be cool, and I thought I would take it to a camping trip and be that person that pulls out the guitar and plays a few songs. Lo and behold, I tried at it for a few days, and eventually the guitar sat in the corner, waiting for me. So to pick it up again and gather dust. So when I think about that now in hindsight, I didn't have a proper, goal and said, by this camping trip in 3 months' time, I want to be able to play 3 songs. And that means I need to work at it at least an hour a day to get there, and really dedicate that time and grit and make sure my fingers were bleeding by the time I got to that point. So when you think about starting something new and you feel that there's a certain resistance against it, why not think about setting it up as these bite-sized goals and breaking it down, so that eventually when you get there, you do feel like you've gone through that journey and feel the grit. Um, a lot of us as well, when we are bored, we will scroll on our phone. When we're anxious, we'll find different vices to help us out to get through that. So what I'm saying here is, we need more grit. We need to persevere. We need to find things that are difficult and not whine about them. I find a lot of the time there's this culture that, as soon as something's not going our way, people tend to start bad mouthing about it or complaining about it, instead of actually just thinking about solutions and putting a bit of effort in and grit into finding something that will work and that will fix that problem. And that then leads me on to awe. So what is, I guess, the connection there is almost the result of getting through that grit. It may not be technically related, in naming terms, but from my perspective, I feel like in order to experience awe, you need to have gone through a bit of grit, or there needs to be a appreciation for the novelty. So much of the time, and especially over this incredible summer that we've had, I found myself, as soon as there's a beautiful sunset, whipping out my phone, taking a picture and walking away. Or when I'm having a great meal, just like rushing through it and enjoy, and like forgetting that I'm there to enjoy that experience. Even if I'm just sitting in the sunshine, I'm listening to a podcast or listening to music or reading a book. which are all great things to do and amazing to continue building your knowledge and things if that's what you're doing. But once in a while, don't forget to stop and smell the roses. When we go on a walk every evening, myself and my partner, what I've noticed and what I love about my partner is they tend to stop at every rose bush, even if we've passed that a million times, and smell the roses. And I feel that in itself encapsulates what I'm trying to say is stop and smell the roses, go on a walk and feel tension against your body. And if something's not going your way, find mechanisms that aren't the easy way out. It's just so easy. Like if you're trying to type up an email now these days, to just say to AI, I want this email. But why not actually think, why don't I write this myself and find the purpose of what I'm trying to do and find my own language? Because eventually we're just going to be autonomous mechanisms going about the day to day and eventually dying and have, get there and realize I have not tried something difficult in a long time. I've not made myself feel that resistance of thinking and using my brain. I have not felt awe in a long time. I've not sat down and just appreciated the sunset. Time goes by very, very quickly. So my encouragement for you today, if you end up watching this and listening to this, is take up something that's going to challenge you and persevere through it. Set up a goal to reach that thing that you want to do within a certain amount of time. Set yourself then a calendar reminder every day. I love the iPhone sort of setting a reminder on it, just holding the Siri button and saying, set a reminder. And it's so easy and so helpful. One thing I've started doing is I injured my shoulder recently, and I know that I need to get physio because by the time I go back home in a month's time, I want to play golf, and I know I'm not going to be able to play golf. So I've set myself a reminder every day religiously. I am going to do that physio because I want to enjoy that experience with my family, and I'm not going to get there if I don't persevere through doing this hard thing. So I challenge that to you today, and I also challenge that is taking a picture of a sunset and sending it to a friend or partner or someone, or putting it on your Instagram story and getting 2 seconds of validation worth more than sitting in that moment with your own thoughts and just appreciating that sunset. So I hope you can take something helpful away from that today, and thank you for listening.